Nathan Cole walked slowly along the observation deck of the Galactic Council station. The lights were dim at this hour, and most beings had gone to their quarters to rest. But Nathan could not sleep. He never slept well anymore. Through the massive window, a purple and gold nebula stretched across the darkness of space. It was beautiful, but Nathan had seen many beautiful things in his years of service. Beauty alone was not enough to fill the empty spaces inside him. He was 53 years old now. His dark hair had turned gray at the sides, and lines marked his face from years of difficult decisions. He had once commanded a fleet of 12 ships during the Orion border wars. He had led thousands of soldiers into battle. But that was long ago. Now he served as a diplomatic advisor on this station. It was quiet work, safe work. The kind of work a man took when he had nothing left to fight for. Nathan stopped near the railing and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, on a small blue planet called Earth, he had once had a home. A wife named Claire. A son named Danny who loved to play catch in the backyard. But the war had taken them both. A raid on a civilian transport. Wrong place, wrong time. The universe did not care about fairness. He closed his eyes and let out a slow breath. 10 years had passed, but some wounds never fully healed. A small sound caught his attention. Nathan turned his head and listened. It came again, a soft scraping noise from further down the deck. He frowned and walked toward it, his boots making no sound on the metal floor. As he rounded a curve in the walkway, he saw her, a small child, no more than 7 years old by human standards, was climbing on the outer railing near a section of the deck that was marked for repairs. She had pale blue skin and large dark eyes that marked her as Kethari, one of the elder species in the Galactic Council. Her small hands gripped the bars as she tried to reach something that had fallen into the gap. Below. Nathan felt his heart jump. The railing in that section was not secure. The maintenance crews had not finished their work. "Hey there," he called out gently, not wanting to startle her. "Little one, that area is not safe." The child looked up at him with those big, dark eyes. She did not seem afraid of him, only curious. "My ribbon fell," she said in a small voice. "Mother gave it to me. I must get it back." "I understand," Nathan said, walking closer with slow, careful steps. "But that railing is broken. You could fall. Let me help you." The child hesitated. She looked down at the gap where her ribbon had disappeared, then back at Nathan. "You are a human," she said. "I am," Nathan replied. "Humans are strange," she said, as if this was a simple fact she had learned somewhere. Nathan smiled a little. "We are. But we are also good at reaching things. Will you let me help?" The child considered this for a moment, then nodded. Nathan stepped closer, planning to lift her away from the railing first, and then retrieve the ribbon himself. But as he reached out, the child shifted her weight, and the damaged support beneath her gave a loud crack. Everything happened in a single heartbeat. The railing section broke free and swung downward. The child screamed as she lost her grip and fell toward the open maintenance shaft below. Nathan did not think. His body moved on instinct alone, the same instinct that had carried him through 100 battles. He lunged forward and caught her. His hand closed around her small arm, and he pulled her hard against his chest as he twisted his body away from the edge. They hit the floor together, Nathan taking the impact on his back and shoulder while he held the child safely above him. For a moment, neither of them moved. Nathan's heart pounded in his chest. The child trembled in his arms, her small fingers clutching his jacket. "It is all right," Nathan said softly. "I have you. You are safe." The child lifted her head and looked at him. Her dark eyes were wide with shock, but she was not crying. She stared at his face as if trying to understand something. "You caught me," she whispered. "I did," Nathan said. Footsteps echoed down the corridor, and voices called out in alarm. Station security arrived first, followed by several council staff members. And then, pushing through them all, came a woman. She was Cathari like the child, tall and graceful with the same pale blue skin and dark eyes. She wore the formal robes of an ambassador, but all her dignity fell away as she saw her daughter on the floor. "Myra!" she cried out, rushing forward and dropping to her knees beside them. Nathan carefully handed the child over to her mother. The woman pulled her daughter into her arms and held her tight, her whole body shaking. "She is unharmed," Nathan said quietly, sitting up slowly. His shoulder ached from the impact, but it was nothing serious. The railing gave way. She was trying to reach something that fell. The mother looked at him. Tears stood in her eyes, though she held them back with visible effort. "You saved her." "Anyone would have done the same," Nathan said. "No," the woman said firmly. "They would not. Many would have hesitated. Many would have called for help instead of acting. You did not hesitate." Nathan did not know what to say to that, so he said nothing. The woman pressed her cheek against her daughter's head and closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them again, she looked at Nathan with a new expression, something between gratitude and wonder. "I am Ambassador Vela Shenry," she said. "This is my daughter, Myra. I owe you a debt I cannot easily repay." "Nathan Cole," he replied, "and you owe me nothing. I am just glad she is safe." Vela helped Myra to her feet. The child had been quiet through the whole exchange, but now she looked at Nathan once more with those large, thoughtful eyes. "You caught me," she said again, as if this fact held some great importance she was still working out. Nathan knelt down to her level and gave her a gentle smile. "I did, and I always will, if you need catching." Myra tilted her head, studying him. Then, very slowly, she smiled back. Vela took her daughter's hand and thanked Nathan one more time before leading Myra away toward their quarters. The security officers asked Nathan questions, filled out reports, and eventually left him alone on the observation deck. Nathan stood by the window again, looking out at the nebula. His shoulder still ached. His hand still trembled slightly from the rush of adrenaline. But somewhere deep inside, in a place that had been cold and empty for 10 years, something small and warm had begun to glow. He did not know it yet, but his life had just changed forever. 3 days after the accident, Nathan found Myra standing outside his office. She was alone, wearing a simple blue dress that matched her skin. Her dark eyes watched him as he approached, and she did not look away or seem embarrassed to be caught waiting. "Hello," Nathan said, stopping in front of her. "Does your mother know you are here?" "She is in a meeting," Myra said. "The meetings are boring. They talk about trade routes and cargo regulations." Nathan tried not to smile. "I see. And you decided to take a walk instead?" Myra nodded. "I wanted to see you." Nathan was not sure what to say. He had thought about the little girl often since that night on the observation deck. He had wondered if she was truly all right, if the fall had frightened her more than she showed. But he had not expected her to seek him out. "Would you like to come inside?" he asked. "I have some work to do, but you are welcome to keep me company." Myra's face brightened, and she followed him into his small office without hesitation. From that day forward, she came back again and again. At first, it was only once or twice a week. Nathan would look up from his reports to find her standing in his doorway, watching him with that same curious expression. She never demanded attention. She simply waited until he noticed her, and then she smiled. He taught her how to play cards. Human card games were strange to her at first, but she learned quickly. She had a sharp mind behind those quiet eyes. And soon she was beating him at simple games of match and memory. He told her stories about Earth. She asked endless questions about the blue oceans and green forests, about animals she had never seen and food she had never tasted. Nathan found himself remembering things he had not thought about in years. Good memories. Happy ones. One afternoon, they sat together in the garden deck, a large area filled with plants from a dozen different worlds. Mira held a flower in her hands, turning it slowly to see how the light caught its petals. "Nathan," she said, "why do humans live on such a dangerous world?" Nathan thought about the question. "What do you mean?" "I read about Earth," Myra said. "It has storms and earthquakes and volcanoes. It has animals that bite and plants that poison. The gravity is strong and the radiation from your sun is harsh. Other species call it a death world." Nathan nodded slowly. "I suppose it is, compared to many planets. But you survived there," Myra said. "You grew strong there. Is that why humans are the way they are? The way we are?" Nathan asked that Myra looked up at him. "Brave, quick. You do not think when danger comes. You just act." Nathan was quiet for a moment. He thought about all the times he had acted without thinking. On battlefields, in emergencies, on an observation deck late at night when a child was falling. "Maybe," he said finally, "or maybe we are just stubborn. We do not like to give up." Myra smiled at that. "I like that about you." The weeks passed, and Nathan found himself looking forward to her visits more than anything else in his day. The empty spaces inside him felt less empty when she was near. The silence of his quarters felt less heavy when he knew she might knock on his door tomorrow. Ambassador Vela noticed her daughter's attachment. One evening, she came to Nathan's office herself, her expression uncertain. "I must apologize," she said, standing stiffly by the door. "My daughter has been bothering you far too much. I will speak with her about boundaries." "She is no bother," Nathan said honestly. "I enjoy her company." Vela seemed surprised by this. "Truly, she speaks of you constantly. I was worried she was being a burden." "Never," Nathan said. He hesitated, then added, "She is a remarkable child. You have raised her well." Something softened in Vela's expression. The formal mask she wore as an ambassador slipped just a little, and Nathan saw the tired mother underneath. The one who worried. The one who tried so hard to do everything right. "Thank you," she said quietly. "It has not been easy. Since her father died, I have been both mother and father to her. Sometimes I wonder if I am enough." "You are," Nathan said. "I can see it in how she trusts, in how she loves. That does not come from nothing." Vela looked at him for a long moment, and Nathan felt something pass between them. An understanding, perhaps. A recognition of shared pain. Then the mask came back, and she was the ambassador again. She thanked him formally and left. But after that night, she did not try to stop Myra's visits anymore. One evening, Nathan and Mira sat together in his quarters, eating a simple meal he had prepared from the station's food dispensers. It was nothing special, just rice and vegetables in a sauce his mother used to make. But Myra ate it eagerly, trying every bite with interest. "Nathan," she said between mouthfuls, "why do you live alone?" The question caught him off guard. He set down his fork and looked at her. "What do you mean?" he asked, though he knew exactly what she meant. "You have no family here," Myra said. "No wife, no children. You live in these quarters by yourself, and you eat alone when I am not here." "Why?" Nathan felt the old pain stir in his chest. He had not spoken about Claire and Danny to anyone in years. The words felt stuck somewhere deep inside, buried under layers of grief. But Myra was watching him with those innocent eyes, and he found he could not lie to her. "I had a family once," he said softly. "A wife and a son. They died many years ago during a war." Myra's eyes went wide. "They died?" "Yes." "Were they sick?" "No. There was an attack. Bad people hurt them." Nathan's voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. "I was not there to protect them." Mira was quiet for a long time. She looked down at her plate, then back up at Nathan. Her small face was serious in a way that seemed too old for her years. Then she reached across the table and took his hand. "That is very sad," she said. "You must be lonely." Nathan could not speak. He only nodded. Myra held his hand tighter. "Then you need a new family." Nathan stared at her. The words were so simple, so direct, the way only a child could say them. As if the answer to all his years of pain was obvious, and he had simply been too blind to see it. "It is not that easy," he said finally. "Why not?" Mira asked. Nathan had no answer for her. She squeezed his hand one more time, then went back to eating her dinner as if they had been discussing nothing more important than the weather. But Nathan could not forget her words. They echoed in his mind long after she had gone home to her mother, long after the station lights had dimmed for the night cycle. "You need a new family." He lay awake in his bed, staring at the ceiling, and wondered if a child could see truths that adults had forgotten how to find. The Galactic Council held a grand banquet to celebrate the new trade alliance between 12 species. It was the largest gathering the station had seen in decades. Ambassadors and diplomats from across the galaxy filled the great hall, dressed in their finest ceremonial clothing. Nathan had tried to avoid attending. He did not enjoy crowds or formal events, but his position as a diplomatic advisor made his presence necessary. So he put on his old dress uniform and went. The uniform still fit, though it felt strange after so many years. The medals on his chest caught the light as he walked through the hall, and several beings glanced at him with curiosity or recognition. He had been famous once, during the war. Some still remembered. He found a quiet spot near one of the tall windows and stood there with a glass of water, watching the crowd. The noise washed over him like waves on a shore, never quite reaching him. He saw Vela enter the hall with Mira at her side. The ambassador wore robes of deep silver that flowed like liquid metal when she moved. Her dark hair was arranged in an elegant style, held in place by pins that sparkled with small gems. She looked beautiful, Nathan thought, and then immediately pushed the thought away. Myra wore a smaller version of her mother's robes, silver with blue accents that matched her skin. She looked uncomfortable in the formal clothing, tugging at the sleeves. When she thought no one was watching, Nathan smiled to himself. The banquet proceeded through its many rituals. Speeches were given, toasts were raised, and important beings said important things about cooperation and prosperity. Nathan listened with half an ear while his eyes wandered the room. He noticed how Vela stood apart from the other ambassadors. She spoke when spoken to, smiled when expected to smile, but there was a distance in her eyes, a loneliness that no amount of fine robes could hide. He wondered if anyone else saw it. Partway through the evening, Mira slipped away from her mother's side. Nathan watched her move through the crowd, small and quick, until she disappeared behind a group of tall beings from the outer systems. A few minutes later, he felt a tug on his sleeve. He looked down to find Mira standing beside him. She must have circled around the entire hall to reach him without being noticed. "Hello, little one," he said. "Should you not be with your mother?" "She's talking to boring people," Myra said. "I wanted to talk to you instead." Nathan glanced across the room and saw Vela engaged in conversation with a group of senior diplomats. She had not noticed her daughter's absence yet. "Come," he said. "Let us step outside for a moment." He led Mira through a side door onto a quiet balcony that overlooked the station's central gardens. The sounds of the banquet faded to a gentle murmur behind them. The lights of distant ships moved slowly across the viewport above. Myra stood at the railing and looked up at the stars. Nathan stood beside her, waiting. He could tell she had something on her mind. "Nathan," she said finally, "can I ask you something important?" "Of course." She turned to face him. Her expression was serious, more serious than he had ever seen from her. Whatever she was about to say, she had been thinking about it for a long time. "I have been watching you," she said, "for many weeks now. I have watched how you treat me, how you treat my mother, how you treat everyone." Nathan did not interrupt. He simply listened. "You are kind," Myra continued. "You are strong but gentle. You never yell, even when you are upset. You save my life without hesitating. You tell me stories and teach me games and make me feel safe." "Myra," Nathan began, but she held up a small hand to stop him. "I am not finished." He closed his mouth and waited. Myra took a deep breath. Her dark eyes met his, steady and certain. "My mother is sad," she said. "She thinks I do not notice, but I do. She cries sometimes at night when she thinks I am asleep. She works too hard and smiles too little. She has been alone since my father died, and I think she is very tired of being alone." Nathan felt his chest tighten. He did not know what to say. "I love my mother," Myra said. "I want her to be happy, and I have been thinking about what would make her happy." She paused. "I have also been thinking about what would make me happy." "And what is that?" Nathan asked softly. Myra looked up at him with those big, dark eyes, so full of hope and innocence and trust. "Human," she said. "My mother needs a companion, and I wish for a father. Please wed her and help lead the galaxy." The words hung in the air between them. Nathan stared at her. He tried to speak, but no words came. Of all the things he had expected her to say, this was not among them. "Myra," he managed finally, "do you understand what you are asking?" "Yes," she said without hesitation. "I am asking you to be my father. I am asking you to love my mother. I am asking you to stay with us forever. That is a very big thing to ask, I know." She did not look away. "But I have thought about it for a long time. I have watched you and watched my mother, and I know this is right. You need a family. We need you. It makes sense." Nathan lowered himself to one knee so he could look at her directly. His heart was beating hard in his chest, and he was not sure if he wanted to laugh or cry. "Myra, I care about you very much, and I respect your mother deeply. But marriage is not something that happens just because a child wishes for it. There are feelings involved, complicated feelings. Your mother would have to want this too." "She does," Myra said confidently. "How do you know?" "Because she looks at you the same way you look at her. When you are not watching, she watches you. And she smiles. A real smile, not her ambassador smile." Nathan did not know what to say to that. Myra reached out and took both of his hands in her small ones. "Please, Nathan, just think about it. That is all I ask. Think about being part of our family. Think about being my father." He looked into her eyes and saw nothing but pure, honest hope. A child's faith that the world could be good if only the adults would let it. "I will think about it," he said at last. "I promise." Myra's face broke into a brilliant smile. She threw her arms around his neck and hugged him tight. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Nathan held her gently, and something cracked open inside his chest. A door he had kept locked for 10 years, slowly beginning to open. When Myra finally let go, she kissed his cheek and ran back toward the banquet hall. At the door, she paused and looked back at him one more time. "You will be a good father," she said. "I know it." Then she was gone, leaving Nathan alone on the balcony with the stars. He stayed there for a long time, looking out at the universe and thinking about everything that had brought him to this moment. The war, the loss, the empty years that followed, and now this strange, wonderful child who had walked into his life and asked him to be whole again. He did not have answers yet. But for the first time in a decade, he had something better. He had hope. Nathan did not sleep that night. He lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling. turning Mira's words over and over in his mind. Human, my mother needs a companion. I wish for a father. Please wed her and help lead the galaxy. A child's request. Simple and impossible at the same time. He had closed his heart so completely after losing Claire and Danny. He had built walls around himself that no one could breach. For 10 years he had lived behind those walls, safe and alone, telling himself it was better this way. Easier. Less painful. But Myra had found a crack in the walls. She had slipped through without even trying. With her innocent questions and her trusting eyes and her hand reaching for his dot, and now she was asking him to tear the walls down completely. He thought about Vela, her grace and her strength. The sadness she carried behind her diplomatic mask. The way she looked at her daughter with such love, even when she was exhausted from carrying the weight of her duties alone. Did he have feelings for her? He had not allowed himself to ask that question before. He had pushed the thought away every time it surfaced, afraid of what the answer might be. But now, in the darkness of his quarters, he forced himself to be honest. Yes, he cared for her. More than he had cared for anyone in a very long time. The realization did not bring him peace. It only made everything more complicated. 2 days after the banquet, Vela came to his office. She did not knock. She simply appeared in his doorway, her face pale and her expression troubled. Nathan stood up from his desk immediately. Ambassador, is something wrong? We need to talk, she said. Her voice was tight, controlled. About my daughter and what she said to you. Nathan felt his stomach drop. She told you. She tells me everything, eventually. Vela stepped into the office and closed the door behind her. I need to know what you said to her. I told her I would think about it, Nathan said. Nothing more. I made no promises. Vela closed her eyes and let out a slow breath. When she opened them again, Nathan saw something unexpected there. Not anger. Not embarrassment. Something closer to fear. I am so sorry, she said. My daughter had no right to ask such a thing of you. She is a child. She does not understand how the world works. I will speak with her about proper boundaries. Please do not. Vela blinked. What? Nathan came around his desk, so nothing stood between them. Please do not punish her for speaking from her heart. She asked because she loves you. Because she wants you to be happy. There is nothing wrong with that. But she asked you to marry me, Vela said, her voice rising slightly. A human she barely knows. An advisor with no political standing. Do you have any idea what the council would say? The complications it would cause? I do not care about the council. The words came out before Nathan could stop them. Vela stared at him shocked. You do not care? No. Nathan took a step closer to her. I spent 20 years of my life caring about politics and duty and what others thought. I followed every rule. I did everything right. And in the end, it did not save my family. It did not bring me happiness. It only left me empty. Vela's expression softened just a little. Nathan, your daughter sees things clearly, he continued. More clearly than either of us. She sees that you are lonely. She sees that I am lonely. And she asked a simple question. Why should we both be alone when we do not have to be? It is not that simple, Vela said, but her voice had lost some of its certainty. Why not? She turned away from him and walked to the window. For a long moment she stood there, looking out at the stars, her arms wrapped around herself. Cathari customs around courtship are complex, she said quietly. There are rituals and expectations. Unions between species are rare and often discouraged. If I were to bond with a human, there would be political consequences. Questions about my judgment. Doubts about my loyalty. And do you care about those things? Nathan asked. Vela was silent. When you lie awake at night, Nathan said, When you cry after your daughter is asleep, are you thinking about politics? Are you thinking about what the council might say? He saw her shoulders tense. He knew he had touched something true. I think about being tired, Vela whispered. I think about how heavy everything feels when you carry it alone. I think about how nice it would be to have someone beside me, someone to share the weight. Nathan walked across the room and stood behind her. Not touching, just close enough that she could feel he was there. I cannot promise you that everything will be easy, he said. I cannot promise that there will be no complications. But I can promise you that I will be there. If you want me, if you let me. Vela turned to face him. Her eyes were bright with unshed tears. Why? She asked. Why would you do this? You barely know me. I know enough, Nathan said. I know that you are strong and wise and beautiful. I know that you love your daughter more than anything in the universe. I know that you deserve more than lonely nights and endless duties. And I know that your daughter is right about one thing. I need a family. I have needed one for 10 years. I was just too afraid to admit it. A single tear slipped down Vela's cheek. She wiped it away quickly, as if embarrassed. This is madness, she said. Perhaps. The council will talk. Let them talk. My people will disapprove. Then we will change their minds. Together. Vela laughed softly, a sound caught between joy and disbelief. You are stubborn. I am human, Nathan said with a small smile. We do not give up easily. She looked at him for a long moment. Nathan could see the war happening behind her eyes. Fear against hope. Duty against desire. The safety of loneliness against the risk of love. I cannot give you an answer today, she said finally. I need time to think, to understand what this would mean. I understand, Nathan said. Take all the time you need. I am not going anywhere. Vela nodded slowly. She started to turn toward the door, then stopped. She looked back at him over her shoulder. My daughter was right about something else, she said quietly. What is that? I do watch you. When you are not looking. A faint smile touched her lips. And I do smile. Then she left, and Nathan was alone again. But the loneliness felt different now. Lighter somehow. Less permanent. He walked back to his desk and sat down. Outside the window, ships moved between the stars, carrying beings to destinations unknown. The universe was vast and cold and indifferent to the hopes of small creatures like himself. But somewhere on this station, a woman was thinking about him, and a little girl was dreaming of a father. For the first time in 10 years, Nathan Cole felt like he had something worth fighting for. He picked up his work and tried to concentrate. But every few minutes, he caught himself smiling. He did not try to stop. The attack came without warning. Nathan was in his office when the first explosion shook the station. Alarms screamed through the corridors, and emergency lights bathed everything in red. He was on his feet and moving before the first tremor ended. A rogue faction called the Iron Dawn had targeted the Galactic Council. They were extremists who believed the alliance between species was a corruption that needed to be destroyed. For years they had been nothing more than a nuisance, small attacks on remote outposts. But somehow they had gathered enough strength to strike at the heart of galactic government. Nathan ran through the chaos toward the security command center. Beings of a dozen species fled past him in the opposite direction, their faces twisted with fear. Smoke filled the air, and somewhere in the distance he heard weapons fire. When he reached command, he found a scene of barely controlled panic. Security officers shouted orders at each other while screens flickered with damage reports from across the station. What is the situation? Nathan demanded. The security chief, a gray-skinned Morvic named Kellis, turned to him with relief in his eyes. Commander Cole, thank the stars. We have borders in sectors 7 through 12. At least 50 hostiles, maybe more. Our forces are scattered and trying to regroup. Nathan's military training took over. The fear and confusion fell away, replaced by cold, clear focus. "Show me the tactical display," he said. For the next hour, Nathan coordinated the defense of the station. He directed security teams, organized evacuation routes, and made the hard decisions that others were too afraid to make. Slowly, the defenders began to push back against the attackers. But then, a new report came in, and Nathan's blood turned to ice. "Sector 9 is completely sealed," an officer announced. "The blast doors locked automatically when the attack started. We have civilians trapped inside." "Who?" Nathan asked, though something in his gut already knew the answer. The officer checked her screen. "Ambassador quarters." Several diplomatic families were unable to evacuate before the lockdown. Vela and Mira lived in Sector 9. Nathan grabbed the officer's arm. "Can you reach them on communications?" "Systems are damaged. We are getting partial signals but nothing clear. Keep trying." Nathan turned to Kellis. "I am going to Sector 9. Commander, that area is too dangerous. We have reports of hostiles moving through the adjacent corridors. I do not care." "Sir, you cannot just—" Nathan fixed him with a stare that had silenced generals during the war. "My family is in there. I am going." He did not wait for permission. He grabbed a weapon from a fallen officer and ran. The journey to Sector 9 was a nightmare. Twice he encountered small groups of attackers and had to fight his way through. He moved like a shadow, quick and lethal, every step bringing him closer to the people he loved. When he reached the sealed blast doors, he used an emergency override code that should not have worked anymore. It was an old command authorization from his fleet days, buried deep in the station systems. By some miracle, the door accepted it and groaned open. Inside, he found darkness and destruction. Support beams had fallen. Smoke hung thick in the air. He called out as he moved, "Vela. Myra, can you hear me?" A faint voice answered from somewhere ahead. "Nathan? Nathan?" He ran toward the sound and found them in a collapsed corridor. Vela was trapped under a fallen beam, her leg pinned but otherwise unharmed. And there, huddled against the wall with tears streaming down her face, was Myra. "Nathan!" The little girl cried. She scrambled to her feet and threw herself into his arms. He held her tight for one precious moment, then set her down gently. "I am here. I am here. Are you hurt?" "No, but Mother, I see her." Nathan moved to Vela's side and examined the beam trapping her leg. It was heavy, but not immovable. "This is going to hurt, but I can free you." Vela nodded, her jaw tight with pain. "Do it." Nathan positioned himself and lifted with all his strength. The beam shifted just enough for Vela to pull her leg free. She gasped in pain but did not scream. "Can you walk?" Nathan asked. "I think so. Slowly." He helped her to her feet and supported her weight against his side. With his other hand, he held Myra's fingers tightly. "Stay close to me," he said. "Both of you. We are getting out of here together." The journey back was slow and terrifying. They had to hide twice when groups of attackers passed nearby. Mira was silent and brave, holding Nathan's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. Vela leaned on him and kept moving despite the pain in her leg. Finally, they reached the safe zone. Security officers rushed forward to help Vela to the medical station. Nathan started to follow, but Myra would not let go of his hand. He knelt down beside her. Her face was pale and streaked with tears, but her eyes were steady. "You came for us," she said. "I will always come for you," Nathan replied. "Always." She threw her arms around his neck and held on like she would never let go. The battle ended 3 hours later. The Iron Dawn forces were defeated, their leaders captured, their plans destroyed. The station had suffered damage, but it would recover. Life would go on. 2 weeks after the attack, Nathan and Vela stood together before the Galactic Council. The Great Chamber was full. Representatives from every member species watched as the human and the Cathari woman stood side by side on the speaking platform. Between them, holding both their hands, was Myra. There had been talk, just as Vela predicted. Whispers about the unusual union. Questions about whether it was appropriate. Doubts from traditional voices who did not understand, but there had also been support from those who had watched Nathan coordinate the defense of the station, from those who had seen how he risked everything to save the ambassador and her daughter, from those who understood that love did not care about species or politics or the opinions of old councils. The head of the council, an ancient being named Primus Vorath, addressed them in a voice that echoed through the chamber. Nathan Cole, Ambassador Vela Shenri, you come before this council to announce a union between your peoples. Do you understand the significance of this act? We do, Vela answered. And you, Nathan Cole? Do you understand that this union will give you responsibilities, not just to your new family, but to the galaxy itself? That you will be expected to help guide our alliance through whatever challenges lie ahead. Nathan looked at Myra. She smiled up at him with complete trust. Then he looked at Vela. She met his eyes. And in that moment he saw everything. The fear and the hope, the pain and the joy. The lonely years and the bright future that stretched before them. I did not seek to lead the galaxy, Nathan said, turning to address the council. I only answered a child who asked for a family. But if leading means protecting those who cannot protect themselves, if it means standing beside the people I love and facing whatever comes together, then I will serve. With all my heart. A murmur ran through the chamber. Then, slowly, it changed to something else. Not quite applause, but something close. A sound of approval, of acceptance. Primus Vorath nodded. Then let it be recorded. Nathan Cole and Vela Shenri are bonded from this day forward. May their union bring strength to their family and wisdom to our alliance. The ceremony ended, and the three of them walked out of the chamber together. Mira skipped between them, swinging from their hands, her smile brighter than any star. Later that night, Nathan sat on the balcony of their new shared quarters. The same balcony where Myra had made her request all those weeks ago. Vela sat beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. Mira had fallen asleep in the next room, exhausted from the excitement of the day. She got exactly what she wanted, Vela said softly. A father for herself. A companion for me. She is very determined, Nathan agreed. She gets that from her mother. Nathan smiled and kissed the top of her head. I am glad. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars drift slowly past. Nathan, Vela said after a while. Yes? Thank you. For being brave enough to say yes. He pulled her closer and felt the warmth of her against him. The walls he had built around his heart were gone now, torn down completely. In their place was something new. Something alive. A family. Thank you for letting me in, he said. The door to the bedroom opened, and Mira appeared, rubbing her eyes sleepily. I had a bad dream, she said. Can I sit with you? Nathan opened his arms, and she crawled into his lap without hesitation. Vela wrapped an arm around them both. Father, Myra whispered, already falling back asleep. Nathan held her close and smiled. I am here, he said. I will always be here. Above them, the galaxy turned slowly in the endless dark. But for the first time in a very long time, Nathan Cole was not looking at the stars. He was home.